Okay, so I'd like to introduce my wonderful and amazing co-presenters. We have Tina Barlolong from Palomar College and Arlene Serrato from Moreno Valley College. And I am Janelle Brekke from Norco College. The disciplines of discussion today, we will be discussing CPL for experiential learners. We will be touching on various types and models of CPL and awarding CPL at each of our colleges. The disciplines we will be discussing today are administration of justice, computer information systems, health science, and our electrician apprenticeship program at Norco College.
Okay, so I'm up. So thank you, Janelle. Again, my name is Tina Barlolong. I'm a veterans counselor at Palomar College, and I'm also the point of contact for all CPL inquiries and processes right now. I am. I did put a QR code on this particular slide that will lead you to the landing page for our credit for prior learning program at Palomar College. And just to highlight the photo here, this was our Candelarios on here. This is a picture from our first military leadership graduation that we held through the pandemic, and it has since then boomed. So our military leadership program and credit for prior learning is such a successful program. And I just wanted to make sure I put that QR code on there. If you had any questions, there's also resources on our page as well. Next slide, please. And I don't know if you were in the prior breakout session with Dr. Lee and my colleagues, Nicole Rowe and Candace Rose, who was our coordinator, but the case study that I'm going to walk you through today in terms of just how we awarded credits for Officer Guerra without having any general education. He hasn't gone to any other colleges, but he has multiple years of experience in law enforcement, and he didn't complete any general education requirements, not yet, but he's currently enrolled in a course right now. We were able to award 30 credits that went directly into an associate's degree in law enforcement, and these credits awarded him an intermediate post and so he was able to get more money. He got a 6.6% raise, I believe, more respect. And, and he's also very highly motivated and looking forward to completing the rest of the general education requirements in order to get his associate's degree. So this is great. I'm going to walk you through what we did at Palomar College in his case. So next slide, please. Now, these are the industry certifications, and we went through the portfolio review to award these credits to Officer Guerra. These are just copies of his certificates that he received, and also just a screenshot of the part of his post transcript. And I should also just mention that the back end of doing all of this, it required Candace, our coordinator, to reach out to our faculty, our instructional faculty, to establish what is this training. They're the experts in this field, and so what is the training that they received, and which particular courses would and could be awarded. We did not, prior to this, have a lot of those AJ courses on our CPL course list, so we needed to go through and do the crosswalk and do all of that work, that lift, in order to move through this process. So I just wanted to include that information there. Those are 4 different parts of a portfolio review. And if you want to jump to the next slide, I also just took some screenshots of what our electronic credit for prior learning petition form looked like. There's different components on this form, but essentially on the left side, you've got the student information. So there is a process by which a student has to log in and fill out this electronic petition form. On the student side, it's pretty easy. Once they're logged into our system, a lot of their information is automatically populated, like their ID number, their name, their date of birth, and phone number. And then they have to request, the request details. Which CPL option are we looking at, and what subject areas are we looking at? I didn't put the entire CPL courses. There's actually 10 of them in there, and you'll be able to see that in a little bit, but there's courses that the student is able to populate in terms of the credit for prior learning process. And then on the right side, this is the part of the petition form where the student meets with the counselor, as myself right now, and essentially there's a process that a student has to have an educational plan on file. So I was able to sit with the student and talk with him about what his program goals are, what his educational and future occupational goals are, to establish what that educational plan looks like. And then I approve the petition. And then from there, with the industry certifications and portfolio review, it goes essentially straight to, because all the work has already been done on the back end, it goes straight to our records office for posting. And this last box that's down in the bottom right is just a screenshot of the flow. Basically, who touched the form, what day, what time, and all the way from the time that the student from the time that the student initiated the form, and then all of the people who had to touch it to approve it. So we have our coordinator, we have the department chair, we have myself as a counselor, and then finally in our records office. And so on the next slide, you'll see that on the left side, I just took a screenshot of what this particular program looks like in our college catalog. And I put a line item through all of the credits that we awarded him. There are two things in there, the patrol procedures and the cooperative education, which ultimately are changes. Those are classes that are ultimately going to be discontinued and updated on this particular program. So as you can see, his certifications and the credit for prior learning essentially is knocking out all of the program requirements for this particular degree. And the only things that the student needs to complete are the general education and the electives to reach 60 units for the associate's degree. And then on the right-hand side, this is just a screenshot of how these credits show up on the student's official transcript. So there is a section on the transcript towards the end where it shows the prior learning assessment. It shows the actual course. It shows how and what the certification was used to grant the credit. It shows the date, the units, and a P for pass. So they do receive those credits. And I think, next slide, please. I think that's it for me in terms of just my process. So I'm going to pass it on to Riverside.
Thank you, Tina. We wanted to just show the board policy changes that we've gone through for Riverside Community College District. As I mentioned, we have Arlene Serrato here, who is my counterpart at Moreno Valley College, and I am at Norco College. So we work closely in ensuring that our processes align, as well as having any coursework that is shared throughout the district reviewed for our students. So prior to the 18-19 academic year, RCCD board policy allowed for a maximum of 15 units for credit for prior learning. That was inclusive of AP credit, IB, CLEP, and military training as well. And in 18-19, we changed the board policy to allow up to 30 units. So while it's still inclusive of AP and IB and military training, we do have that room. So if a student does have the AP credit, they can still possibly be awarded for both.
Hello, I'm Arlene. We put up this slide here to kind of show the differences between the workflow and how we do it here at RCCD. We wanted to make it very upfront that the evaluator has a specific role, as well as the subject matter expert, as well as articulation officer. Currently, RCCD is evaluation center is a centralized effort, which means that most of our transcript evaluations and our course articulations are housed within that department, and we sit there. We will research. We will do a lot of the documentation, and we will also post the units within the transcript. We go and we work with faculty to make sure that these courses are approved. They're the final say so. they are the ones that we go to. We'll go to the subject matter expert there, and we will make sure to see exactly what they need or if they need additional documentation. And then we will also move on to the articulation officer to make sure that there's nothing that we are missing. And then we go back to the evaluator, because the evaluator will process for the student. The evaluator will put the units within the transcripts to make sure that this is transcripted.
And I would love to say that we have a wonderful form like Palomar College, but this paper form will do for now until we get there. This is our RCCD CPL petition form. We utilize a district form, and just with this process, we can kind of ensure that we're meeting the guidelines and that students are meeting the guidelines that we have designed per our board policy.
And then, so we're going to be showing you guys some examples that we've already approved by faculty, that were already approved by our faculty disciplines.
So this CIS course, this was actually district approved. This went to the Moreno Valley faculty as well as the Riverside City College faculty for review.
So by saying that, all of our district can use that now. Students can come into Riverside, and as long as they completed the certification, and one of the things about this one that there is a cost for it. If students go in and take the CompTI, this one I believe ranges about in the 200s to the 300s, and that's just for the exam. That doesn't include any of the practice skills to get to that level. And then we did put in here, this is the example of the certifications that we get on our end. Right now, we do have a current CPL policy that our students do have to complete 12 units in order for them to get this transcripted onto their transcript. Go ahead and show the next one, please. So this is an example of how we were able to transcript it. So our students, that certification that we just took, our students would be able to get units, and we've been working with our technology, our IT, in order for us to be able to show that on their transcripts, so students can take it out to other institutions. There's specific things that we went through in order for us to get it onto the transcript. There's quite a bit. We do have to eventually update our legend, because we do have a new notation that PL Industries tells the other institutions, hey, this is not the type of credit that we're used to. Go ahead and go on to the next slide. And then I did see within the chat, we are putting it within tests. It's a little bit of manipulation within tests. If you are a test administrator, there are ways to get in there and do it differently. We created an industry credentials institution, and we've been putting some of them in there as well. You're also able to use ACE, American Council on Education, also has some industry credentials in there as well, because we wanted, the link is on there. Whenever you want to go on it, you would look for industry credentials, and it has them all within the same link. And then this is just a crosswalk of where CIS 25 and CIS 27 would fit in within our certificate and our associate degrees. We do have quite a bit of programs of studies that we do use that these courses could be used in. And then I did see in the chat that we were asked what SIS. We are a colleague school. So this shows, this is a degree audit process that we use, and you can see where CIS 27 and 25 were pulled in for our MC 986, our IT technician pathway. And then at MVC right now, we've also approved the EMT license. We've worked with our EMS faculty to make sure that we are taking the proper certifications, and we are looking at specific expiration dates. We're looking at if they don't have something, they don't have their license, what exactly can we take? And that's the reason why we put here, they can submit a completion form from the program and the completion of the National Registry exam. Our faculty have been working very closely with us, because this specific EMS gives students 8.5 units, and we can use it to we can use this for some of our fire technology degrees. And then this is an example of how we transcripted onto our transcript. And these are the last two examples that you've seen there, those are students' records that obviously we didn't put any information, but they are on the transcript right now so that students can utilize them. And again, this is the program crosswalks for EMS 50 and 51, how we've equated that EMT license. And then these are exactly where we are able to use it. The first one is what it's been, what we've used it what we've used it so far. We have about 10 students that were able to utilize this as of right now. This is something we just started doing within the last year. Our new ones, those ones that started in the 1000, the Homeland Security, those are brand new programs coming in. And then we right now currently don't utilize it. We do, MVC does offer a EMT certificate. We don't utilize it to award that specific certificate because we do have a 50% curriculum role here at RCCD. And then on the right, you'll see our colleague degree audit showing exactly how these courses were used. And you'll see at the bottom that the EMS 50 and 51 were used to fulfill this elective requirement within the major. Leah, I saw your question. We are the graduation specialists as well. And then this is tests. Again, this is where we manipulated, both myself and Janelle were sitting in here trying to figure out exactly how we were able to house this somewhere. So this is the same industry credentials institution we created. And then it shows the emergency medical technician training and exactly what it equates to. And then one of the great things about this is we're looking forward in the future. We are currently so going on what Tina has been doing, we are working with our ADJ faculty to get our post-certification students credit. Our faculty have approved it. We're on the next steps at looking at exactly what certifications we'll be taking. Also, the same thing with our fire faculty. We are looking at what CAL FIRE is offering and exactly how much credit we can give them. And one of the things that is not mentioned on here is that we are looking, as we're going through these processes, the evaluators are looking at exactly what is Title V, Ed Code, whatever it is that are our board policies that's hindering students, and if we're able to change certain things. And the reason why I say that is because at RCCD, we have a manual of things that we're doing that we need to do, and we have a 50% rule that we have been able to, in a sense, clarify because we were using it incorrectly. And that's actually something that's going to help our students move forward when we start awarding these associate degrees. It won't hinder them. They can take most of we can give them credit for the major and they can take GEs with us.
Thank you, Arlene. Here at Norco College, we recently had a student receive credit for our first aid and CPR course, which is our KIN 30. The student was able to provide a training syllabus plus their valid basic life skills card for our faculty review. So by providing this type of evidence, the student was able to demonstrate knowledge of assessing victims of injury and medical emergencies and applying the emergency action plan, bandaging and splinting techniques, emergency rescue moves, and applying those techniques used for prevention and treatment, and etc. With this CPL approval, the student can use their credit for KIN 30 towards our local degree of kinesiology, health, and wellness. This just shows you an example of how that credit is applied in the AOE, so in the area of emphasis for this degree. And if the student was not pursuing this degree, they could still use the KIN 30 to be applicable towards their 60-unit associate degree requirement. To expand on that, here's an example of how KIN 30 would be applied if the student was pursuing kinesiology for transfer following CSU GE at Norco College. KIN 30 could be used as an elective option in the major for this ADT. And again, if the student was not pursuing this degree, Kin 30 would still be used towards fulfilling the 60 CSU transferable requirement for this ADT. At Norco College, we also have the Electrician Apprenticeship program, which is a program that provides electrical apprentices with up-to-date knowledge and technical skills to complete their California state requirements. It is a 5-year program consisting of full-time on-the-job employment plus related classroom instruction. Completers of this program may qualify for a certificate, associate degree, and journeyman trade certificate. So what we were seeing at Norco College was, as Arlene mentioned, we had these certain processes and practices in place that would not allow a student, let's say, that was brought in as an advanced apprenticeship student, that would not allow that student to earn a certificate from Norco College. Based on our pre-existing policies, that would say this student has to complete 50% of the program at Norco College. CPL would not be in consideration, and therefore the student would not receive an official certificate from us. So now that we are able to clarify some of those unknowns, we're able to apply the CPL credit that IBEW, which we're in partnership with, has. We're able to apply that credit towards the certificate for the students that are deemed as being advanced apprenticeship by IBEW. And this is a demonstration of how the courses that are required for the Electrician Apprenticeship program, and what the coursework a student would need that is not advanced versus advanced. So you can see that by allowing the students in this program to receive credit for prior learning, it does reduce the amount of coursework that they're going to take. And to be honest, it's not the certificate at Norco College that they are pursuing. It's one of the advantages that we should give students with this partnership, but just we weren't able to do so just because of our policies and practices that were in place before. So now that these students are able to actually receive the credit for prior learning for the first through third year of the apprenticeship program, they are now receiving a certificate from Norco College. And just to give you an example of how this credit is applied, this student received credit for ELE 400 through 405, which would be the first 3 years of the Electrician Apprenticeship program. And now we were able to award those students their certificates. So I think we powered through that pretty quickly. If anyone has any questions, I know that we've been trying to answer some in the chat.
And I will start off with saying we were told to try not to talk evaluations. So if you have any questions about anything, please let us know. Allison, we are just not there at the W's just yet. That's the only reason why your college isn't on my test just yet. Right now, we are a department of 2, and we're trying to put as many evaluations on there as possible. Juan would like to look at the transcript again. Oh, thank you, Janelle, you're fast.
Mm-hmm. And Tina was able to put the Palomar transcript in the chat.
Somebody questioned why doesn't it say CPL? So the reason why it only says PL, prior learning, is because we could only put, I believe we can only put 2 characters in there.
It's a limit issue. Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is we're part of those conversations, so we actually know some of those answers, because we sit with IT trying to figure out exactly what the outcome is.
And if anybody wanted to view your tests, Arlene, so interested to know how they interpret. So do you want to take that one from Julie, Arlene?
Yeah, so this is actually very brand new to us. Both myself and Janelle have been working at RCCD for about 30 years combined. And one of the things we grew up with in our evaluations was that we've always had this 50% rule attached to the certificate and the associate degree. So this is something that we've always interpreted this way. And then someone came in and said, well, the associate degree really isn't a certificate. Why are we giving them the same rule? And then we went back and looked at everything and we're like, oh, wow, you are correct. So this just started, the conversation started a few months ago. We are now, I can tell you, I've canceled multiple people, and cancel as in like not giving students degrees because of this rule, their associate degree. Actually right now I do have a student from MSJC come in and I believe they are trying to do an an early childhood education degree, and I was canceling them because of that. They wouldn't be able to, they weren't allowed to get our ECE degree. And now we're going back and like, oh, sorry, now we can. It was a misinterpretation of the rule because we were adding it to the associate degree.
So I don't think we would be opposed to a non-credit course. I mean, if you think about it, like a student could technically bring a training program they completed through Sophia Learning or Cora, and those would technically be non-credit, and we would still send those to our faculty to review. So as long as the faculty believe that that student met that competency, then we could possibly use the non-credit courses.
And I would like to add up with that one is we just started non-credit here at RCCD. We started awarding that within the last 2 years. So this might be coming down the pipeline as well. I love seeing Julie, thank you for saying that. We like to call them, what do you call them, Janelle? Our forefathers of evaluations. Mm-hmm. We're second generation evaluators here.
So we're trying to make those changes just a little bit more student friendly, and to just really look at our policies and practices that we've been used to, and that we've grown up doing in evaluations, and just kind of questioning some of those things to make sure that they are best practices for students. I think there was a question of showing CPL, how it appears in tests. So I can bring up yours, Arlene.
And we were practicing that one. I don't know if I can give you guys a whole tutorial on it because it took us a little bit of time.
While you're bringing that up, I can maybe talk to about Tina's question in terms of using hours of working like a cooperative education. I thought about that too. Actually, it came across, I did talk to our cooperative education faculty, and he said no, because there's state mandates that are associated with that. So there's definitely some courses that we don't have as credit for prior learning. We have an alcohol and other drug studies program that they're associated with, there's some like state certifications and licensing issues that are concerning. We used to have some of our real estate classes that were on there, but things were changing in the industry in terms of the courses that were allowed to be utilized. And so we had to pull our real estate courses, but the cooperative education courses were not part of that. Currently, there was a student who wanted to take credits or do credit for prior learning to get to 60 credits in terms of elective units to get to 60, which is legit. You could totally do that. But it was, I think the courses, I should say, that really helped out in that sense was foreign languages. So credit by exam, which has always been the case, right? In terms of we always had credit by exam. Some of the issues that we were having were, a lot of transferable credits, right? So it's like when you're looking at credit for prior learning and transfer credits, it was very difficult to navigate that prior to the CSUs putting out their guidelines in terms of being able to accept credit for prior learning courses. So just wanted to put that out there too.
I think you bring up a good point, Tina. Part of the process of awarding CPL is also understanding that CPL is not the best scenario for every student, right? Like I know we are, with Arlene, we are starting to get in the conversations of looking at the fire technology, but that requires also understanding the fire technology requirements for their state training and making sure that we're not hindering any students in that process. And I do have your test up that I can show.
So we created that institutional credit, that industry credentials, which is an institution now within our test.
Yeah, so this is how it would show up as an industry credential. Test requires that you give it a city and a state. And this is where she is housing those industry credentials.
Our goal is to hopefully put posts in there soon and some fit as well. Fire technology, sorry.
And I wanted to answer Allison's question. Does your intake person provide students with examples of military training that shows them what degrees and certificates that would be closely aligned to reverse engineer a degree? It's interesting. We haven't really gotten around to doing a whole lot of marketing out to students. I know that in the prior workshop, they were trying to indicate we used to have a section on our Palomar College application that asked about, whether or not they had experience that something along those lines, experiences or work experiences or prior experiences that could translate into credit for prior learning. And then we got a lot of questions and inquiries because they weren't sure like what credit for prior learning was. They thought it was evaluation of prior transcripts, and it was like, oh no, that's records. But I can say that as traction has been kind of getting out there with counselors, I mean, as a counselor, I talk about credit for prior learning all the time in terms of, really addressing and asking students, what types of work have they been that they've been doing? What kinds of experiences do they have? Because, we have those conversations with students as we are crafting their educational plans and or majors, because we pull their experiences, their interests, and in terms of developing a career. So it does definitely change the tone of the conversation from talking about just general education and here's our pathways programs and where do you think you might be interested in kind of exploring, really kind of going off of their prior experiences and their work experiences, maybe even looking at a resume to say, the work that you're doing, are you planning on getting into a major, first of all, right? Are you planning on pursuing a major that's related to this, and really looking for opportunities to validate some of that work experience, translating them into credits and just saying, let's just explore it. It changes the tone, it changes the energy, and it's very, what's the word? It's motivating for students, in order, prior to this, you're looking at a military transcript. It's like, okay, we'll give you 4 credits for PE and health and area E. And I know you're, Master Sergeant this, and your JST is 30 pages long, but this is all they're going to apply in the beginning. But now we can actually justify that and look at it, whether or not that's something that they want to do or not. But having it on the table as an option is just a game changer for students.
And that's one thing Moreno Valley is working on too, getting it to Tina's level. We're working on our website right now. We're working on where exactly to house it. Where is that communication to close the loop? We're working with counselors, working with our webmaster to see exactly, because within my department, I do have an evaluations small website, like a page, but we also can link it somewhere and putting it within the veterans website, stuff like that. That's one of the reasons why we do like this tool of tests, so because anybody can access it. You don't have to be a college school or Aleutian. I keep saying college, Aleutian school. There are tests can open it up and populate it for you.
Yeah, and that's where Palomar isn't yet in terms of putting courses on tests. All the information is on our CPL website. And so there's a way that you can search you know, in terms of on the CPL website for the courses, there's this whole section on the left that basically you can filter things out by major, credit for prior learning, modality. So what are we pulling? And there's notes. So it hasn't made its way over to that area in terms of evaluation and what faces out and what students, you know, there's so many things out there, but it's always best to just kind of come back to CPL and let's talk about it, right? So that's where we are right now.
And to Allison's comment, what is the best resource to see what CPL other colleges have approved? I believe Dr. Lee does have a running list of institutions that have some type of CPL policy and what that is in its current state. And he also hosts a CPL work group. If you're interested, I think you can reach out to him. But this is a great conversation for all of us to just discuss where we're at in the process of CPL. It's community colleges, the CSU's office is there, as well as our chancellor's office. And we just have those conversations of what is your process on your campus? What, you know, issues are you running into, and so forth.
And then Susan, I see yours. So there's a little loophole for us here at RCCD because we are a district. If Moreno Valley doesn't offer the course, I can go and steal something from Norco College or steal something from RCC. And what I mean by that is, like, I can ask Norco College to post a construction because we do share curriculum and we do have a common transcript. We have we share also the transcript as well, while Riverside has welding and stuff like that, automotive that I don't offer. And then the opposite, my college, Moreno Valley College, offers fire technology, EMS. So for us in that sense, but because of the CPL policy, we cannot offer anything that doesn't sit within our 3 colleges curriculum. We cannot post it. We could give them units to finish the associate degree, but we can't post it on their transcript.
And at this time, I believe Title V does state that it has to be a course listed in your catalog for CPL. So we would not award any CPL there that was not listed in our catalog.
I wanted to address the non-credit mirrored classes. We currently don't have any CPL yet for these courses, but I know that with so many things that are happening with our schools right now, especially in math and English, right? There's a lot of talk about the mirrored classes. So we don't have one yet, but I think that if those courses are like, they go through the process of CPL to, you know, crosswalking it, how are you going to assess it? If it was credit by exam, I'm just saying, right? So if there was a course that was approved for credit by exam, I think that would be, in my opinion, the easiest way to get a mirrored non-credit course translated into credit for prior learning in terms of getting that credit on the other side. Because if you're teaching the same things and the student learning outcomes are the same, then theoretically there could be a credit by exam option where that could work out really nicely. That's where the discussion is. We haven't actually put it, it's not come to fruition yet, but that's what makes sense, at least to me at this point today. And I also, just so you know, I think I posted in Allison, Tom, Miura, you asked a question about where you can find credit for prior learning courses. I did hyperlink the course list for Palomar College, so you can have some examples there in terms of just how we've done it. And you could sort a million different ways to identify what those courses are. And I like to emphasize that this course list is not complete, because a lot of times conversations will come up with students in counseling sessions with other counselors, even to say, hey, you know, this student does this, and that, and it might be aligned with this course, but it's not on the list. And so it's a conversation that students can have with faculty. So it's not uncommon for Candace, myself, the student, and the department chair, discipline faculty to have a conversation to talk about what kinds of work, right? And being able to determine whether or not the student's experiences follow or cover the student learning outcomes, and what kinds of materials might you be able to provide through a portfolio review. So it's very, very intimate, and that's what I love. I love that about being able to connect students directly to faculty, to be in those conversations and to have next steps in terms of like actionable items of what needs to happen next on the student side and on the faculty side. And we walk that student through from the beginning all the way until records, and we can see that those credits have been posted on their record. And it's really rewarding. It takes a while, it takes a long time, because I know that we have so many students, but when it happens, and it's so like, that's why we're here, right? To get those finishers, to get their credits, and to let them know, look, you don't have to start from scratch. That's the awesome part. I really do appreciate that, to say to students that you knocked out 100% of your program requirements, and now we just need to focus on your general education. And I know that you feel some kind of way about it, but if you just did one class at a time and you utilize resources, and really framing that and encouraging students and uplifting them and empowering them, they get to it, and you see them at graduation, and it's like, this is why graduation is my favorite holiday.
And
go ahead.
Taryn had a question about bridging evaluators and faculty to streamline the CPL process. Just from experience at Riverside Community College District, what we found was most successful was to create a process that mirrored a process that we were already doing for our faculty, making it just something that they were used to. So for us, it was our course substitution equivalency process through evaluations. So if there is like a course that we evaluators are having a question on and we're unsure, we normally send those forward for faculty review. And so in this case, it was mirroring that process with, providing for them the evidence, providing for them any information that the student had, as well as the course that we were recommending, and seeing if they were in agreement or not. And at that time, the faculty also do have the opportunity to choose a different course if they feel it better fits a different course that we offer.
And at RCCD, we send a lot of our articulations or our course evaluations to the department chairs, so they know our names. So when our emails come in, they're used to seeing us. So one of the things that my dean did that was overseeing this project, she put us all within the same room. She put all her department chairs and said, this is Arlene. She's going to be working with evaluating some of these things for us, especially for our military students. And now we have a relationship to make sure that gets approved or not approved. And then I did see in the other questions, have you found any issues in regards for transfers? So we actually had that on pause until about 6 months ago, Janelle, when we got the CSU MOU coming in, and we were not giving students 80J. That specific example that you had, we did have some students on pause until we got it on paper that we were allowed to approve them. And now we're able to use those courses. We have not got any questions on it from the CSU side, but I don't think we posted too much. One thing that I will say, and I would probably bring in Janelle with us, is me and Janelle are homegrown within our district. We've been working within our district since we were 18. So that's all we know. It's so nice to hear what everybody else is doing. It's a different perspective that we need to hear. And we are aware that we need to make sure that we're evaluating our processes to making sure that they're equitable for our students.
And lastly, Allison, you asked about resistance from faculty in terms of the credit by exam. Well, if they didn't want to have those courses listed for credit by exam, then they have that choice, and students have that choice. And there are classes that we do have that are not, we don't do credit by exam for them. Some of them, they're not all of them, but the one that is the majority of the CBEs that we receive are the world languages, but not too many, few and far between on the others. I don't get too much resistance. But thank you all for being here and listening to us. And I look forward to seeing what we do in California in terms of credit for prior learning. I'm excited to be part of this team. And if you have any other questions from the counselor's perspective, or even, you know, the coordinator's perspective, reach out to cpl@palomar.edu. We've been answering a lot of questions for folks over the year. So either myself and Candace. So please do reach out. Thanks for being here. Thanks, ladies.